What's up, everybody? It's Young here with Day 4 of the Fallout 4 Countdown Retrospective. Just a little over half a week to go, everybody. 4 days left until Fallout 4 launches. For today's Countdown Retrospective, I would like to take you through all the Fallout 4 news released throughout the months of July and August 2015. Let's start by going back to July 4th, 2015, the date in which website Game Informer published an article in which Todd Howard discussed how they would be handling bugs for this game. Here's what he had to say. It probably took us a month or two before we really had a handle on it. All of the updates we did on Skyrim and all of the DLC, once we sorted the bugs out, we had a different process for how we checked the content out. There will always be some problems. I think we've gotten way better there. For us, the player's saved game is the #1 thing. If the game crashes, that's bad, but it is nowhere near as bad as someone's saved game being hosed. That's our scenario that we will do anything and everything to avoid. We made a lot of progress given how Skyrim went, but we did it during Skyrim. This just builds on that. This article was then followed by an announcement made on July 9th, 2015 on the official QuakeCon website, where it was announced that Fallout 4 would be present at the event. The excerpt read, fans in attendance will have the opportunity to join Bethesda Game Studios game director Todd Howard for an exclusive QuakeCon presentation of Fallout 4 taking place on the Ventrilo main stage on Friday, July 24th at 1 p.m. And just like that, the hype train had been refueled. Following this announcement, prior to the event, on July 17th, 2015, Bethesda released a pair of videos for Fallout 4, one being the direct feed for the combat gameplay trailer shown off at E3 2015, and the other one being direct feed gameplay footage showing off Commonwealth Minutemen leader Preston Garvey for the first time.
Ready to fuck some shit up?
Got a doll baby, I love her so. Nothing else like her anywhere you go. A man, she's anything but calm. Regular pint size atom bomb. Atom bomb, baby, little atom bomb. I want her in my wigwam. She's just the way I want it to be. A million times hotter than TNT. Atom bomb baby, loaded with power, a radioactive at TV tower, a nuclear fission in her soul, loves with the electronic control. Atom bomb baby, little atom bomb, I want her in my wigwam. She's just the way I want her to be, a million times hotter than TNT. Atom bomb baby, boy she can start one of those chain reactions in my heart. A big explosion, big and loud, like a tree right up on a cloud. Atom bomb baby, little atom bomb, I want her in my wigwam. She's just the way I want her to be, a million times hotter than TNT. Atom bomb baby, sweet as a plum, carries more warmth than uranium. When she kisses, there's no hitch, 0 hour she turns on the switch. Atom bomb baby, atom bomb, I want her in my wigwam. She's just the way I want it to be, a million times hotter than TNT. Atom bomb baby, little atom bomb, I want her in my wigwam. She's just the way I want her to be, a million times hotter than TNT. Baby, little atom bomb.
It's good to be back.
as I live and breathe. Oh, it's really you.
Codsworth? You're still here. So, other people could still be alive too.
It's worse than I thought. You're suffering from hunger-induced paranoia. Perhaps I can whip you up a snack? You must be famished.
What? Food? Yeah, sure. I need a minute to think.
Then I'll be right back.
Hey, boy. What are you doing out here all by yourself? You want to come with me, pal? Okay, then. Let's stick together. End of the line!
Hey! You! You see that laser musket on the ground? Grab it and head inside. I've got a group trapped in here. Please!
Man, I don't know who you are, but your timing's impeccable. Preston Garvey. As you can see, we're in a bit of a mess here. A month ago, there were 20 of us. Yesterday, there were 8. Now we're 5.
I'll help if I can.
Well, we do have one idea.
Following the release of these two wonderful videos, just as promised, on July 24th at 1 p.m., Bethesda took to the QuakeCon stage to show off new gameplay footage to QuakeCon attendees. Website IGN attended the event and actually did a live blog on what they saw. At the time, I decided to compile all of the information they shared into one video. Check it out. The following information comes from IGN's live blog of Fallout 4's QuakeCon 2015 gameplay demo, which was only shown off to those who attended the event. Here is every new bit of information from the demo. It begins with a showcase of various concept arts, among them being Mr. Handy. Todd Howard stated that Mr. Handy wasn't just modeled on the outside, but also on the inside, so if he gets blown apart, it's actually possible to see his insides, which is a pretty neat detail. He then proceeded by talking a bit about Mr. Handy and how he will say the name that players give to their character, as long as it's common enough. According to IGN's article, names can range from Sean to Mr. Fuckface. That's right, the presentation actually showed footage of Mr. Handy calling the player character Mr. Fuckface, which is pretty funny. The topic then shifted to the dog, which was apparently modeled after the dog of Fallout 4's lead level designer. Animations were based off of her too. They then showed off a concept art of the dog wearing a scarf, which could perhaps be confirmation that the dog can be equipped with an assortment of apparel and gear. They then began talking about companions, starting with Preston Garvey. We got a good look at him in the gameplay demo they showed off during E3 2015. They also introduced a new companion called Piper, who IGN described as a woman wearing a red leather coat and an old-fashioned newsboy hat. Players will first meet her in Diamond City, aka post-apocalyptic Fenway Park turned into a town, and she is the one who will grant players access to the town, which is something that her boss, Mayor McDonough, is not happy with for some reason. According to Todd Howard, Fallout 4 will feature around a dozen companions, and thus far 4 of them have been revealed: Mr. Handy, the dog, Preston Garvey, and Piper. Also, it was revealed that in Fallout 4 you can romance any companion regardless of gender. Now, there wasn't any clarification on whether players can romance Mr. Handy, but hey, I don't see why not if you're into that kind of thing. The presentation then shifted focus to the Pip-Boy. They actually showed an Apple-style video featuring Johnny Ive as a little joke. Then they finally showed off gameplay, which started with the protagonist looking at his new Pip-Boy. Through the Pip-Boy, you can actually watch vintage-style educational videos that detail the 7 special attributes. The one that the presentation showed off was the video for strength, which talked about how the stronger you are, the more you can carry. According to Todd Howard, these videos are part of a series, and they will be released from now to the release of the game. He then talked a bit about Special and Fallout 4's leveling system. Skills seem to be completely gone this time, replaced instead by a bunch of perks. Each perk is tied to a special attribute, and every time you level up, you get to pick a perk. The perk UI is very interesting. Apparently, it's laid out like a giant poster, with each column designated to each letter of Special, so 7 columns of perks, with each column representing one of the game's 7 attributes: strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck. So it looks like Fallout 4 is changing up the leveling system for the Fallout series, in a very similar fashion to how Skyrim changed up the leveling system for the Elder Scrolls series. Among the perks was Bloody Mess, which Todd Howard commented that everyone likes to pick. Then the player dived into some gameplay, starting in a town called Lexington. Todd Howard described that ghouls have come in and pushed out survivors, but there is a group that has taken residence there. As the player traversed the town, ghouls started pouring in from windows and cracks in buildings, but the player made quick work of them using the game's VAT system. After the battle, the player discovered a super-duper mart. He went in and commanded the dog to see if there is anything worth taking, and while the dog scavenged the area, the player began hacking a computer. After hacking the computer, the player turned around to see a robot patrolling the mart, which says "Protect and Serve" as it waddles around. The player eventually discovered a laser musket, which he used against more ghouls that started pouring in through windows and attacking the player and the patrolling robot. The weapon is apparently very powerful, although reloading does take a bit of time, since the player character has to crank on a lever on the side to reload. The footage then cut to outside again, showing a dead body hanging from a basketball hoop. The player then moved to a place called Corvega, a power plant from which people could be heard talking further into the facility. The people turned out to be raiders, and once again the player used VATs to blast them apart. IGN noted that the sound in these scenes was incredible, with weapons sounding excellent and shots echoing in these old rusty rooms. Then ghouls came into the fray and started attacking the raiders. Instead of getting involved, the player sat back and let the enemies tear each other apart. While that was happening, the player grabbed a metal pipe with razor attachments and then used VATs to swing the weapon at remaining survivors. The footage then took the player back outside in the town square area. After a while, an airship came by and dropped off 2 heavily armed men equipped with Fallout's iconic Brotherhood armor, who fought off raiders alongside the player using laser weapons. Then the player picked up a Fat Man, which is followed by the appearance of a massive behemoth mutant. Using VATs and the Fat Man, which according to IGN emits a mushroom cloud effect that is awesome, the player managed to lay waste to the behemoth. And that's where the presentation ended, and that's all the information that came out of it. On the subject of romanceable companions, soon after the event, Pete Hines clarified that players can only romance human companions, so sorry, Fisto fans, none of that kinky robot action. A few other websites would also post articles about what they saw during the presentation, and the information they shared was practically the same, although some did provide some small new details. Kotaku, for example, pointed out that Mr. Handy was voiced by Stephen Russell, who played Garrett in Thief. They also shared a tweet from Bethesda Game Studios' lead level designer revealing her dog River, the model for dog meat. There was also mention of book or comic book covers being more detailed this time around, allowing players to zoom in and look at them. Website DualShockers also shared some details, and something they mentioned is that the Pip-Boy will pause the game, so you can use it during combat. Now, it wasn't just media outlets who attended the event. Fans of the game attended as well, and one of them took to Reddit to share what they saw. A few things he noted that others didn't include a new quick select menu for weapons, cool new weapons like night vision rocket launchers, hardened sniper rifles, full auto plasma rifles, and scatter laser muskets, mentioning that laser rifles are crazy cool now. New enemies like Raider Scavers, who were described as assholes with power armor-like armor. The ability to call reinforcements, mentioning how a vertibird dropped off 2 guys in power armor to aid the sole survivor with some scavers and a behemoth, and how the vertibird gets shot down at one point. Feral Ghoul's new ability to climb through windows and drop from ledges, the ability for players to shoot their legs out and cause them to fall, leaving them unable to move and allowing for executions, the ability to throw grenades with a button dedicated to them, with a grenade counter now displayed on the top right, explosive barrels scattered throughout the map that players can shoot to tactically eliminate enemies, and melee attacks with guns, which allow players to smack enemies with the butt of whatever weapon they are holding, as well as melee weapons with brutal executions. Following the July 24, 2015 QuakeCon event, 3 days later on July 27th, website GameSpot would post an article detailing new information about the settlement building feature. Pete Hines would describe the feature in extreme detail by stating the following: "It's not just, hey, here is Breeze Home, where we just picked a house and you can buy it and you go to somebody and say, here's this much gold and put this thing into my house. In Fallout 4, it's now I'm building it. I'm actually building the house. I'm building the wall. I'm placing the door. I made the table. I made the mattress." It's that sense of making your own way in the world and defining who am I and where do I live and what's my story in this world. There are preset locations around the world where you can build. You can definitely build up. In one demo, there's a radio tower, and the developer that built it just kept going up and incorporating the tower into their structure. Much like a game like Minecraft, you can be a noob and just build a simple little thing. And you can also get the guys who go crazy and can say, I rebuilt the spaceship from this game, or I rebuilt the TARDIS from Doctor Who using the lights and stuff and it looks exactly like it. Like, holy shit, that's incredible. I'm actually really excited about this feature. I'm curious to see how extensive it really is. Speaking of the settlement building system, in an article by The Guardian published the next day on July 28, 2015, Todd Howard would talk about how this feature ties into one of the major themes of Fallout 4, rebuilding, building a new life, and starting again. The rest of the article just lists information we already knew by then, and thus concluded all the information for the month of July. Let's now move on to August. The month kicked off strong on August 6, 2015, when Bethesda would take to Twitter to confirm something that fans of Fallout had been asking for. Here's what the tweet stated: "To our fans who've asked, Fallout 4 doesn't end when the main story is over, and there is no level cap. You can keep playing and leveling. What's funny is that this feature was something that Todd Howard hinted at many years ago, and he kept his promise, which is pretty cool." Following the tweet, 2 days later on August 8, 2015, IGN would sit down with Pete Hines from Bethesda during Gamescom 2015 to talk about how perks work in Fallout 4. Check out the interview.
The focus of the team on Fallout 4 was to really play up the importance of the special system. That it is really the core of the role-playing part of Fallout 4, and the way that the game is now designed is designed to play up the importance of special and to use it combined with the perks to allow for a lot more variety as far as characters that you can play, the choices that you make, and how you can make sort of your character progression and development unique to your friends or anybody else playing, that there's so many different paths to what kind of character builds that you can have, that you can take your strength to 10 walking right out the door and unlock this crazy strength perk that maybe most folks won't get to for a long time, but you've kind of rolled the dice in one direction, like you want to play this barbarian type guy that doesn't even use guns, he only uses melee and he just can carry everything, and you're willing to sacrifice a lot of other stuff, you can create that kind of a build. So it's designed to push the importance of special and to give the player a lot of choice in how they choose to develop their character. It's presented in a way, I think, that it's not overwhelming, that you sort of, when you build your character, you sort of get this set number of options, and so like what all 70 are at the outset or what all 270 are doesn't really matter, because you can't pick them off of the bat. When you level up for the first time, you're only going to be able to pick from a certain suite of them, and so it starts with you sort of looking at what those are and then seeing which ones come after those, so you can start to identify, well, here's where I think I might want to be able to go. And again, it's not a theory, like it's something that's been play tested internally an awful lot to figure out what kind of diversity we get in the character builds that folks are playing and how they level up through the system as they play through the game, to kind of identify, is this working the way that we want? And it's kind of proved itself out to be that kind of system.
Moving on, let's skip all the way forward to August 16th, 2015, which is when IGN would publish another article regarding Fallout 4 and their chat with Pete Hines. One of the first things the article detailed was that it was highly unlikely that there would be any more story details revealed prior to the game's release. I would have believed this maybe a couple days ago, but I think the launch trailer gave us a lot to chew on. But even with the launch trailer, very little is known about Fallout 4's story, which I think is fantastic. The article also talked a bit about DLC. According to Pete Hines, the team is currently 100% focused on the main game. While they have spent some amount of time brainstorming ideas, it hasn't been anybody's focus. In other words, they plan to deliver on the main game and then add on to that, rather than purposely taking away chunks of the game to sell later. In the words of Pete Hines, mod support, DLC, that's all nice, but if we don't deliver an awesome game by November 10th, our DLC plans won't matter and our plans for mod support will be irrelevant. We have to deliver a great game in the first place. Well said, Pete, well said. And that's all the new information from this article. The next new bit of information would come from Bethesda's official Twitter page. On August 26, 2015, they would tweet the following message: "Our artists created 2 times the game assets for Fallout 4 than Skyrim. Get a taste of our art book." Attached to the tweets are 4 concept artworks. The first 2 images are quite beautiful, but most intriguing of all are the last 2 images. I believe this was the first time that Bethesda officially unveiled the synths. In this particular artwork, we are shown 2D concept arts of a Generation 2 synth, and in the next image, we are shown a 3D render of one. So for those saying that Fallout 4's launch trailer might have spoiled too much by mentioning synths, they were actually hinted at quite a while ago, which is very interesting. For the last bit of information for the month of August, I would like to fast forward 4 days, which takes us to August 30th, 2015. On this date, website Game Espresso would provide some new details about Fallout 4's leveling and character progression system from official Xbox Magazine's Fallout 4 issue. This was briefly touched upon by Pete Hines in IGN's video, but OXM's excerpt further elaborates on that. Here's what the excerpt says. You'll still level up via XP, and each level increase will still give you a point to spend on a perk, but now those perks have varying XP levels of their own. It's perception essentially, and that means that should you theoretically play long enough to max out every tier of every single one, gaining untold buffs and no doubt all kinds of horrendous real-world illnesses in the process, you'll top off with a total of 275. While this makes sense to us now, at the time, when Fallout 4's leveling system was still very vague, it was hard to clearly picture what this leveling system looked like. All we knew is that the leveling in Fallout 4 would rely heavily on special and perks, that it involved an interface that looks like a giant poster, and that there would be base perks that would contain sub-perks, which we now simply know to be perk ranks. And that's where the last bit of new information for the month of August would end. And with that, I would like to end Day 4 of the Fallout 4 Countdown Retrospective. Thank you for tuning in. Let us know in the comments below what you thought about the barrage of information that would make our way throughout the months of July and August. And to be further updated on Fallout 4, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out.